Gravity is perhaps the most familiar force in our lives. From childhood, we understand that everything falls downward. Toss a ball, and it returns. Pour water, and it flows downhill. This is so self-evident that we seldom give it a second thought. Official science asserts that gravity operates uniformly across the globe, is fully understood, precisely described by formulas, and offers no surprises. Scientists are confident that, following Newton and Einstein, there's nothing left to debate. The matter, they believe, is closed. However, there's a curious phenomenon. Our planet hosts locations where gravity behaves as if it's never encountered these formulas. These are places where water flows uphill, where heavy objects roll upwards, where people feel their bodies suddenly become lighter or, conversely, heavier, and where instruments register readings that defy all calculations. Local inhabitants have known about these sites for centuries, weaving them into legends and warning travelers, but science typically dismissed such accounts as mere illusions and superstitions. It's only in recent decades, with the arrival of expeditions equipped with sophisticated instruments, that it's become apparent that something is indeed amiss. And the anomaly is so profound that it challenges our entire understanding of modern physics. Today, we will explore 5 such locations, 5 points on the map where gravity seems to work incorrectly. Our first destination is the Hessedalen Valley in Norway. Envision a narrow mountain valley in the heart of Scandinavia, stretching a mere 12 kilometers. It's surrounded by peaks, birch groves, and scattered farmsteads. At first glance, it appears unremarkable, a peaceful, tranquil spot. Yet, for centuries, locals referred to it as the Valley of Restless Lights. Here's why. Beginning in the 1980s, bright, luminous spheres started appearing regularly, hovering in the air, moving against the wind, changing color, and vanishing without a trace, night after night, year after year. Initially, science attributed these phenomena to ball lightning, stating it's not uncommon in mountainous regions. However, when a dedicated scientific station was established in the valley, complete with advanced measuring devices like radar, magnetometers, and gravimeters, far stranger findings emerged than mere aerial lights. It was discovered that in certain areas of the valley, the gravitational pull significantly deviated from calculated norms. The discrepancy was substantial, deviating tens of times beyond permissible error margins. Typically, minor gravitational fluctuations are explained by variations in the density of underground rock formations. Denser ore leads to slightly stronger gravity, while voids result in weaker gravity. This is a well-understood and normal phenomenon. But here, the difference was on an entirely different scale. In one location, designated Zone Alpha by researchers, instruments consistently indicated a weaker gravitational pull than expected. This wasn't a brief surge or a random glitch. It was a stable, persistent deviation, unaffected by weather, time of day, or season. It was simply always present. One physicist on the expedition conducted a simple yet highly illustrative experiment. He placed a steel ball on a surface that had been meticulously leveled with a laser. The platform was absolutely horizontal, with no discernible tilt in any direction. Instead of rolling downward, which was impossible given the level surface, the ball rolled toward the center of the anomalous zone, where gravity was weaker. According to all known laws of physics, it should have rolled in the opposite direction, towards stronger gravitational pull, or remained stationary. This experiment was repeated numerous times, using different balls and platforms, and inviting independent observers. The outcome was invariably the same. The ball consistently rolled in a direction that defied the principles of physics. But that wasn't all. The streams flowing through the anomalous zone exhibited even more peculiar behavior. The water in these streams flowed not in the direction of the local terrain's slope, but in the opposite direction. Local farmers had long observed this, referring to such streams as stubborn, as if the water had a mind of its own. Science, predictably, initially attributed this to an optical illusion, suggesting the surrounding landscape was tilted, trees grew crookedly, and the visual perception of water flowing uphill was deceptive. This is a standard explanation scientists employ for similar occurrences worldwide. However, geodesists, Experts in precise terrain measurement conducted surveys using satellite systems and confirmed that the slope indeed pointed in one direction, while the water flowed in another. The difference, though small, just a few centimeters over tens of meters, was real, measurable, and repeatable. This suggests that in this location, the force of gravity doesn't pull strictly downwards, but has a lateral component. This sideways force is sufficiently strong to alter the flow of water. Local residents also shared another observation with researchers. On nights when glowing objects appeared above the valley, people experienced a peculiar lightness in their bodies. Some described it as a fleeting moment of weightlessness, while others felt as though the earth was gently pushing them away. One elderly woman who had lived in the valley her entire life recalled her grandmother calling such nights earth-breathing nights and advising against going outside, as one could become lost between sky and earth during these moments. A beautiful legend, nothing more, any scientist would claim. However, when sensitive sensors were installed in the homes of several volunteers, the data corroborated these accounts. During the appearance of light anomalies, instruments registered brief gravitational fluctuations. For a fraction of a second, a person would become slightly lighter, perhaps by about 150 grams. This is insufficient to lift off the ground, but certainly enough for the body to perceive. The grandmother's intuition was correct. The Earth was indeed breathing. Our second location is Mount Brocken in Germany. In the central part of the country lies the Harz mountain range, with its highest peak being Mount Brocken, standing at just over 1,000 meters. While not exceptionally tall, it possesses a rather sinister reputation. Since ancient times, local inhabitants believed it to be a gathering place for witches. It was on Brocken that Goethe set the famous Walpurgis night scene in his Faust. And indeed, the mountain has elements that can inspire fear. It's shrouded in dense fog nearly year-round, and within this mist, a remarkable phenomenon sometimes occurs, the so-called Brocken specter. This is when one's own shadow is projected onto a wall of clouds, appearing as a colossal dark figure surrounded by a rainbow halo. Frankly, it's a spectacle not for the faint of heart. Science explains this as light refraction, a rare optical phenomenon devoid of anything supernatural. However, Mount Brocken harbors other oddities that are not so easily dismissed. As far back as the late 19th century, a German geophysicist observed that his gravity-measuring instrument at the summit of Brocken yielded anomalous readings. The discrepancy was minor and was initially attributed to equipment inaccuracies, an old device, poor weather, various possibilities. The observation was set aside. Later, in the 1970s, a group of physics students from the University of Göttingen brought their instruments to the mountain. They decided to measure gravity using pendulums. The principle is straightforward. A pendulum of a specific length oscillates at a constant rate if the gravitational force is standard. If gravity is stronger, the pendulum swings faster. If weaker, it swings slower. This is fundamental physics taught in introductory courses. On Brocken, the pendulum swung slightly slower than expected. The difference was imperceptible to the naked eye, but detectable by precise instruments. The students meticulously recorded their findings and published them in a university journal. The scientific community largely ignored them, unwilling to delve into a student project about a peculiar mountain in the Harz. It wasn't until modern times, with the deployment of contemporary equipment and the creation of a detailed gravitational map of the mountain, that the picture became truly fascinating. The anomaly wasn't spread uniformly across the mountain, but concentrated in several specific points, forming an almost perfect triangle. In the center of the triangle, directly beneath the summit, gravity was slightly weaker than normal, while at the three corner points, it was slightly stronger. This presented a visually striking, almost geometric pattern. Science attempted to explain this by positing underground voids in the mountain's core and deposits of dense rock along the edges. While seemingly logical, drilling revealed only homogeneous granite. No voids, no ore, just rock that, by all conventional parameters, should have produced uniform gravitational readings across the entire mountain, yet it did not. The reason remains unknown. Furthermore, on the northern slope of the mountain, there's a section of an old road, approximately 200 meters long. If a car is placed on this incline with its engine off and the handbrake disengaged, it begins to roll uphill. Local residents have known this for a long time and pointed out to tourists. Science attributed this to an optical illusion, suggesting the road actually sloped downwards and the perception was misleading. However, a team of engineers measured the road using lasers and satellites with millimeter precision, confirming it sloped upwards, with an incline of nearly 2 degrees. There was no illusion, the phenomenon was real. This was repeated 14 times, using different vehicles and even a non-magnetic aluminum cart. The result was consistent. 1.5 tons of metal rolled uphill. The sole explanation is that gravity in this area doesn't pull strictly downward, but exerts a slight sideways pull. Many visitors to the mountain report a similar sensation, a strange vibration through their feet and a feeling of lightness in their heads at specific locations. Medicine attributes this to suggestibility. However, in a blind test, volunteers were blindfolded and led around the mountain without prior warning. Over 70% accurately identified the moment they entered the anomalous zone, describing a tingling sensation in their feet and dizziness. Our third destination is the Marcahuasi Plateau in Peru. High in the Andes, at an elevation of nearly 4,000 meters above sea level, lies a stone plateau that local indigenous people call the place where the gods played with stones. Marcahuasi spans approximately 4 kilometers of rock, wind, and silence. Situated 80 kilometers northeast of Lima, Peru's capital. Reaching it is no easy feat. The final few kilometers require hiking along a narrow mountain path. But those who ascend find themselves in an unparalleled world. The entire surface of the plateau is dotted with enormous stone formations, resembling human faces, animals, and mythical creatures. Science attributes these to natural erosion, suggesting that wind and rain, over millions of years, have sculpted intricate shapes from the soft stone, and our brains then interpret them as familiar images, a phenomenon known as pareidolia, the tendency to perceive faces and figures where none exist, much like seeing shapes in clouds. This explanation sounds reasonable, but the stones are merely the beginning of the Marcahuasi story. Since the 1950s, people ascending the plateau have noted something profoundly peculiar. On certain stretches, individuals suddenly feel a lightness, almost weightlessness, prompting an urge to jump higher, feeling as though a stronger push-off would send them soaring. On other stretches, conversely, a heavy sensation descends, as if a bag of sand has been placed on their shoulders. Their legs feel weak, and they desire to sit down. These sensations shift dramatically within mere steps. 10 steps in one direction, and you feel light. 10 steps back, and you feel heavy. For decades, medicine attributed these experiences to altitude sickness. At 4,000 meters, oxygen is scarce, atmospheric pressure is low, and the body struggles, leading to perceived anomalies. This explanation seemed quite convincing until the year 2003. In 2003, a team of geophysicists arrived at the plateau with professional instruments and, for the first time, created a detailed map of Marcahuasi's gravitational field. The plateau is composed of relatively uniform volcanic tuff. According to all calculations, gravity should be nearly consistent across its surface, with perhaps only minor variations. However, the instruments revealed a starkly different reality. The gravitational force fluctuated from point to point several times more than geological factors would suggest. Most astonishingly, the boundaries between these zones were abrupt, not gradual transitions, but sharp distinctions, almost like steps. Here, one value, a couple of meters away, another. And now, the most remarkable discovery. When the gravity map was superimposed onto the map of human sensations described by visitors, they coincided perfectly. Where instruments indicated reduced gravity, people felt lightness. Where gravity was increased, they experienced heaviness, a precise match. Subjective sensations, which science had long dismissed as altitude sickness and imagination, turned out to be accurate reflections of actual physical anomalies. But that's not all. When the gravitational map was overlaid with the arrangement of the stone figures, another correlation emerged. The largest sculptures were positioned precisely on the boundaries between these gravitational zones, as if someone, long ago, had marked these transitions with deliberate symbols. Scientists conducted another experiment with pendulums. They placed several identical pendulums across the plateau, 50 meters apart. Under normal conditions, they should all swing at the same rate. However, they swung at different speeds. Science suggests such variations are possible only between points separated by hundreds of kilometers, not 50 meters. Yet, here they stood on the same plateau, at the same elevation, under identical conditions, swinging at different rates. Local guides also informed researchers about another specific spot on the plateau, which they called the Stone of Sleep. According to their accounts, anyone lying on this stone would fall asleep within minutes, regardless of how alert or rested they were. The stone induced sleep. Scientists, of course, attributed this to the fatigue of the 4,000-meter ascent. However, they decided to investigate. Volunteers were placed on the stone with sensors monitoring heart rate and brain activity. The results were impressive. People experienced a sharp decrease in heart rate, and their brains transitioned into a unique state within minutes, resembling deep meditation or a trance. Simultaneously, a gravimeter positioned near the stone registered the deepest gravitational anomaly on the entire plateau at this location. The gravitational pull was weakest here. This suggests that weakened gravity might directly influence bodily functions, slowing the heart and shifting the brain into a different operational mode. If this is ever definitively confirmed, it would open an entirely new scientific frontier at the intersection of physics and medicine. Our fourth location is Lake Baikal in Russia, the deepest lake on Earth, plunging over 1.5 kilometers to its bottom. Baikal is an entire universe unto itself, brimming with enigmas. But there's one mystery that science tends to address quietly, or not at all. Early indications of gravitational anomalies on Baikal emerged in the 1960s, when Soviet geophysicists were compiling a detailed gravitational map of Siberia for military purposes. They required precise data for ballistic calculations and meticulously surveyed every square kilometer. The results in the Baikal region were so peculiar that they were immediately classified. It wasn't until the dissolution of the Soviet Union, when some archives were declassified, that it became known that the lake's gravitational field exhibited a structure incompatible with standard geological models. Official science attributes the Baikal anomaly to the lake's location within a so-called rift zone, an area where the Earth's crust is thinner than usual, with the mantle approaching closer to the surface. The deeper layers of the Earth are hot and dense, and the difference in rock density creates the deviation. This sounds logical, and scientists confidently state, nothing mysterious, just ordinary geology. However, in 2009, when the renowned deep-sea submersibles Mir descended to the bottom of Baikal, equipped with a suite of measuring instruments, findings emerged that ordinary geology cannot explain. At maximum depth, in the very heart of the lake, the instruments detected a strange signal. Gravity at the bottom was not constant. It pulsated, at times becoming slightly stronger, then slightly weaker, with a distinct, regular rhythm. Each cycle lasted approximately 12 minutes. These were not random surges, interference, or noise, but smooth, stable oscillations, akin to breathing. Science typically attributes such phenomena to the influence of the moon and sun, which slightly deform our planet, creating tidal fluctuations. But the rhythm of Baikal's pulsations did not align with any known tidal cycle. 12 minutes is too rapid for lunar influence and too slow for seismic activity. Scientists found no explanation and acknowledged the data without releasing it publicly, deeming it too inconvenient. Local peoples, the Buryats and Evenks, have long spoken of Baikal as alive, as breathing. Fishermen who depended on the lake for generations knew of places where a boat would seem to be sucked into the water, with no current or wind. Yet the boat would remain anchored, and rowing would be futile. Conversely, there were other spots where a boat would be propelled forward effortlessly, as if pushed by an unseen force. Science attributed these effects to underwater currents and temperature variations at different depths. But fishermen observed these same phenomena in winter when the lake was covered by a meter of ice. Beneath the ice, there are no currents, yet the effect persists. One of the most impressive experiments was conducted precisely in winter. A long line of highly accurate scales was placed on the ice of Lake Baikal. Every 100 meters, an identical reference weight was placed on each scale. If gravity were uniform across the entire line, all scales should register the same reading. However, the readings varied, not randomly, but in a wave pattern. One scale showed a slightly higher weight, the next slightly lower, then higher again. This wave moved slowly but noticeably along the line. Scientists commented, "This resembles a gravitational wave, a genuine gravitational wave, passing through the rock strata beneath the lake." Previously, gravitational waves had only been detected from the collision of black holes in distant space, requiring detectors kilometers long. Here, ordinary scales on ice detected a wave many times more powerful than anything captured from space. Its source wasn't a distant galaxy, but something directly beneath their feet. What exactly it is, no one knows. At Cape Cowboy, the northernmost point of Olkhone Island, a sacred site for Buryat shamans, another peculiarity was discovered. Instruments indicated that the gravitational force on this rock was slightly weaker than just a few hundred meters away. One of the expedition's biologists noted that birds never landed on this particular rock, despite it being ideally suited for nesting. High, wind-protected, with convenient ledges. All surrounding rocks were occupied by birds. This one was empty. Perhaps animals can sense what our sensory organs cannot detect. For thousands of years, shamans considered this place special, a source of power. It seems they knew something that science is only beginning to uncover. Our fifth location is the Danakil Desert in Ethiopia. This is the most forbidding place on our list, with temperatures exceeding 50 degrees Celsius, solidified lava, poisonous lakes, and active volcanoes. The local Afar people call this land the gateway to hell and issue warnings about places where the earth pulls downward. Science offers a simple explanation. 3 tectonic plates are diverging here. The crust is exceptionally thin, and magma is close to the surface. Whether logical or not, an expedition working here several years ago established 20 stations within the depression and recorded data for 3 months. In the center, a zone approximately 15 kilometers wide was identified, where the gravitational force was noticeably weaker than calculated. This represents a significant deviation for science, but the strangest aspect is that this zone did not coincide with any volcano or underground magma chamber. It lay between them, as if something beneath the Earth was generating its own field, partially counteracting the gravitational pull. Within this zone, scientists discovered a phenomenon they nicknamed flickering. Gravity was not merely weaker, it fluctuated rapidly and chaotically, up and down, like a blinking light. The expedition leader's initial assumption was equipment malfunction. He replaced all sensors, then replaced them again. Subsequently, he ordered an entirely new set of equipment from Europe. Nothing changed. The gravity at this point was genuinely flickering. It was real. Guides from the Afar tribe told the scientists that this place is called the Eye of the Earth. According to their lore, if a stone is placed in the center of the zone, it begins to tremble and lightly jump. Scientists naturally attributed this to micro-earthquakes, given the volcanic nature of the region and constant ground tremors. However, they decided to verify. They placed several stones on a flat basalt slab in the center of the zone and set up a camera for continuous recording. After 3 hours, they reviewed the video. One